I'm only going to go through once because it does repeat a few times. I'm not going to go through it each time. So let's have a look. Because if I had a choice, I would never bring a life into this world. As if I had a choice, I'd prefer it had not been done to me. If I had a choice, I would never inflict this kind of misery. If I had a choice, I'd rather not exist within an oblivious sea of peace. So I've really got two things to say on this. The first one is of this idea of the oblivious sea of peace. I really like this lyric. I don't think it accurately portrays reality. Like, I think if we're not born, then we simply never exist. It's not like there is this sort of sea of peace that, you know, spirits are existing in a peaceful state and then they're ripped from that and they come into the world when someone procreates. In my view, there is just nothingness. There is no experience of any kind. In my view, there is just nothingness. There is no experience of any kind, or just preferring that you never came into existence. Now, some people may look at this and think, well, that's fucking depressing, but I don't necessarily see it as depressing. I think you can be perfectly happy with your life as it is now and want to continue existing, but just intellectually recognize, not even on an emotional level of lamenting your own life and lamenting the fact that you exist, but on an intellectual level, recognizing that it would have been better if you had not been created. Recognizing that it would have been better if you had not been created, because you wouldn't exist to care that you're missing out on anything, but you wouldn't have been created to suffer the things that...
Lawrence says, in my view there's just nothingness, no experience of any kind. Now, I must point out that if I don't exist, then yes, my brain won't be one of the ones responsible for consciousness, but we have to seriously ask ourselves why not existing didn't stop this life, a life, from being imposed. Your lack of existing did nothing to stop a life from being imposed, and this is true of every single being in the universe. So all of the evidence shows that not existing does nothing to stop a life from being imposed. If we imagine a universe completely devoid of all life, but then a single life pops into existence, how would your lack of existing stop that life from being the one imposed? Your lack of existing did nothing to stop the life called Lawrence Anton from being imposed, so why would it suddenly be effective at stopping some other life from being imposed? You won't exist in order to stop it from being imposed. And so the idea that your lack of existing equals no experience of any kind is a fallacy. Because, had you never been born, other lives were born and existed back then. There's no escaping one life or another, because, if you don't exist, there's no you to escape one life or another. And so, if it isn't one life it's another. There's no escaping experience, because there's no such thing as non-experience, as something that's achievable or obtainable. I am not advocating for people to have kids. I'm just pointing out the flaw in the idea that not existing would be better.